What you don't know. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend Brooke. Gotta get out of the way. Ding. And now on to our topic. What you don't know. Many, many years ago, I once heard that there are 4 stages to any learned skill, whether that's a musical skill, sports, a subject in school, or acting. And I want to share those 4 stages with you now. The first stage is called unconscious unknowing. This is when you have no idea what you don't know. Think back to when you were maybe in algebra in school. You had heard of this word calculus, but you didn't know what a derivative was or an integral. You didn't even know you were going to learn that if you ever did take calculus. You didn't know what you didn't know. It was unconscious unknowing. But now let's say that you actually take calculus. When you show up for that first day, the teacher might hand you a syllabus. Now we move into the second stage of learning called conscious unknowing. And this is where you're staring at the syllabus of things you're going to learn, but you still haven't learned them yet. Now, if you stick with this subject or with this skill, you will then eventually move into the third stage of learning, which is conscious knowing. And to describe this further, let me use a musical example. If you were learning to play guitar and you were in the conscious knowing phase, that would be indicated by the fact that you know how to play a G chord, a C chord, a D chord, and you know sort of now intuitively that most rock songs are composed of these 3 chords in different arrangements. But when you set out to play one of those songs, you're still having to stare at the sheet music. You're still having to stare at the fretboard and where your fingers are, and you don't always hit those notes perfectly. But after much time and many, many practice sessions, again, whether this is in regards to an athletic skill like a sport, or a musical skill, or an artistic skill like painting or acting, you will eventually move from that third stage into the coveted fourth phase, which is unconscious knowing. This is when you know that song by heart. You don't even have to think about it anymore. In fact, if you do accidentally start to think about what chord you're playing, that's when you actually might mess up. I think it's safe to say that we've all reached this stage in some skill that we've worked on at some point in our life. Okay, great, Matt. Thanks. What does that have to do with my acting career? Well, if you're asking that question, then you kind of just answered it. In other words, by asking that question, you're saying that you don't know what you don't know in regards to the point of this video. And that is my point to this video. This industry is a labyrinth of information. When you think about that first time you were watching a movie, a play, a TV show, and realize that's what I want to do, you didn't know yet what a call sheet was, right? You were in stage 1 of learning about this industry and about this career, unconscious unknowing. Then perhaps when you signed up for your first acting class, you started to tiptoe into that next phase of learning because you're seeing other actors, you're being inspired by their talent, you start learning about obstacles and objectives and points of view and previous moments, etc. And there's a chance that you who are watching this are currently in that phase of learning right now in regards to your career. And that's okay, because to be clear, there is always more to learn about this industry. But the question I want to pose to you, the real point of this video, is, are you willfully stuck in phase 1? Nay, relaxing in phase 1, the unconscious unknowing phase? Are you content not even thinking about what the next step of your career is, what that will take, and what that will entail? Is ignorance bliss? And let me say right now that I'm not trying to call out actors in any way. Instead, I'm just trying to inspire a little curiosity about this topic that maybe you haven't thought about before, that perhaps might make you more proactive in your career. Okay, so let's get topical. As of the recording of this video, the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike is still happening. As of last Thursday, the AMPTP refused to come back to the negotiating table, so here we are. So among other things, it means that any current union, television, or film work that is out there has to be from projects that are approved to be part of the interim agreement. Still don't know what that is? Are you in stage 1 or 2 of learning when it comes to the interim agreement? Well, then stop the video, jump to the description below where I have a link to a PDF at the SAG-AFTRA website that will tell you everything you ever wanted to know about the interim agreement. Many actors, though, still have never even heard of the interim agreement, even though it's been around since July of this year. Or they still confuse this with the idea of a waiver. Spoiler alert, it is not a waiver. It does not give studios the right to continue working on the previous contract. That is what a waiver would be. This is something completely different. And very few actors, in my experience, and that experience is running a taping service where I interact with actors, union and non-union, every single day, is that the vast majority of them have not read through any of the terms that affect their career right now. For instance, I had a film audition come through last week that, of course, was part of the interim agreement. So I exercised one of my new rights as part of this agreement to have an in-person audition. Yeah, you heard that right. The in-person audition. I hadn't had one since January of 2020. It was a very interesting, new, and yet exhilarating experience. And yes, that is a new term in the interim agreement. You have a right as an actor to ask for some sort of live audition, whether it be over Zoom or in person. First come, first serve. But instead of explaining all the details to you, I'm going to make you do the work. Go down to the link that's in the description below, click to that PDF, scroll down to somewhere in page 43, 44, and you'll see all of the new terms that relate to auditioning. And here's another hint. When you go read that right now, you're going to see that there are page limits to your first audition and also minimum amounts of time for deadlines for your first audition. All of that is meant to help us, to protect us, the actors. Oh, and when you take the initiative to finally read through the agreement, hopefully the entire thing, but at the very least, all of the self-tape guidelines, you're going to notice that that page limit for the first audition says 5 4/8 pages. Why doesn't it say 1/2? Why didn't they just reduce the fraction to make it simpler? Well, instead of answering that question, I'm going to ask you, the actor, to do the work yourself. Go find a call sheet of any kind. And if you've never been on a professional set, then you can look these up online, I'm sure, and find a PDF of one or a sample one. And just look anywhere on that call sheet where you'll see page counts and see if you notice a trend. It might give you an idea of why they decided to officially write in 4/8 of a page instead of 1/2 of a page. I think it's great. And to all of you still watching, God bless you, because I know that some of these videos can get long. I recognize that we are in a TLDR culture. I'm being told that some of you might not be initiated into what that acronym means. It means too long, didn't read. We read headlines, but we rarely follow through on reading the entire article. Instead, we just decide to like it, comment maybe, or repost that headline without knowing the details or the nuances of the subject matter. And shame on us for doing that. And I might have done that sometime in the past. That, quite frankly, is, without a better term, an abuse of that second stage of learning, that conscious unknowing. It's all of us collectively saying, I'm okay knowing that I don't know what this article is about, and I honestly have no intention of ever reading the full story to find out what it is I'm sharing. I just hope all of my followers like it, and that I beat my friends to reposting this thing that I didn't read or that I don't understand. And again, hear me on this. I consider myself part of this problem, especially in regards to issues outside of this industry. But when it comes to matters of this industry, my career, I take it very seriously. I need to be in the know. As I've covered in various previous videos, it's this pursuit of knowledge that has not only saved me money over the course of my career, but it's recovered money and made me money by knowing what I'm owed when I'm owed it. Knowing what my rights are and how to enforce those rights has given me so much autonomy in my own career, and therefore so much more peace. So if you have ever been frustrated by this industry, I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads, then ask yourself, have you done everything you can to arm yourself with as much knowledge as possible so that you might understand the problem better and to know whether or not there's anything you could do or could have done to rectify that or to prevent that from happening in the future? And it's not just about, are you frustrated right now? Let's say you're content with where you are in your career and how things are going. Then think about this as being prepared for that next inevitable step in your career. If you've booked a couple one-liners or one-scene roles and you're looking forward to being on set for more than one day for longer chunks of dialogue, are you ready for that? Are you ready for the demands of going to set multiple days in a row, of getting your pages changed the morning that you arrive at set and suddenly realizing you have an entire monologue that is new that you have to memorize and perform before lunch? Or what the implications will be when you suddenly get cast in a guest star role? Or if you're on that cusp of moving into series regular territory, do you already have an entertainment lawyer that you know you'll retain at that time? Did you know you will need a lawyer? And speaking of being a series regular, do you have a plan of how you're going to manage your sleep on that type of schedule? How you're going to maintain your fitness when you're getting up at different times every day? How you're going to maintain your diet when every meal you eat will be on set? Again, none of this is meant to be fear tactics or to scare you. I just want to alert you to the fact that you might be in that phase one of unconscious unknowing to an extent that you didn't realize before, which on the one hand is not your fault. That is sort of what stage one is all about. And so if I've made you curious to step into that second stage of conscious unknowing and then maybe eventually getting to stage 3 and 4, great. Let those instincts guide you. But if you resent me for what I've said in this video, then sorry, not sorry. Because to thrive in this industry, you need a growth mindset, not just in regards to your craft, but also in regards to building better business acumen, which will allow you to succeed and thrive and have that career with the longevity that you've always dreamed about. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.